It's without a doubt that Marvel Tokon is one of the most anticipated fighting games and video games of 2026, and for a really good reason. When it comes to Marvel fighting games, the Marvel vs. Capcom games are the main ones you think of. This is because no other game developer attempted to make one themselves, except for Nihilistic Software when it came to Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects, and Kabam Games with Marvel Contest of Champions, a game I honestly had no idea existed until recently. But this is why Marvel Tokon is such a big deal, because not only are we getting an actual Marvel fighting game on consoles since Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite's released 9 years ago, but it's made by one of the most beloved fighting game developers in the industry, Arc System Works. With amazing visuals, deep-cut character roster picks, awesome mechanics, and a seemingly deep story, this is truly a game that Marvel fans around the world won't want to miss. But it's unfortunate that some will, because Marvel Tokon is not available in 132 countries.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Yep, here we go again with Sony being Sony. Now you're probably wondering, why is it that Marvel Tokon is not available in these 132 countries? What do you mean there are some people around the world who cannot play the same game that I play? Well, let me explain. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, a game that is published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, will be releasing on August 6th for the PlayStation 5. Sounds pretty good. Everybody who has a PlayStation 5 can play the game, right? Well, not quite. You see, PlayStation Network is only available in 69 countries around the world. The funny thing about it is that you can actually go into their website and see which countries have PSN available. But in case you didn't know and you probably slept through history class, there are more than 69 countries that exist on our planet. So that means that everywhere else that's not these 69 countries, they do not have access to PlayStation Network. And Marvel Tokon requires you to sign into PlayStation Network in order to play the game. So that's pretty much bad news for people in those 132 countries, unless those players actually make a new account that changes their region, which technically is against the rules and you can get banned, so we ain't gonna talk about that. Okay, but this is alright, right? Because Marvel Tokon is also available on PC via Steam, an alternative platform that has nothing to do with PlayStation and PSN, so these 132 countries can just simply play the game on Steam, right? Right? Sit down, fam, because I got some bad news for you. Unfortunately, you also need a PSN account in order to play Marvel Tokon on Steam, so a bunch of countries basically cannot play this game at all. Very sad. Now, this isn't the first game where we experienced this, because Helldivers 2, another game that is published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, was also a game that launched simultaneously on PlayStation and PC. And just like Marvel Tokon, you needed a PSN account in order to play that game on Steam. Helldivers 2 was not available in 177 countries due to this. If I remember correctly, people in those 177 countries could purchase it, but they could not play it at all. Now, I'm sure most of you remember how that whole situation sparked a huge backlash from players, journalists, content creators, and so many people around the world. Lots of people talked about it, and it got to the point where the topic was so popular that Sony ended up removing the PlayStation Network requirement. It's unfortunate that it took fans, journalists, and content creators alike to go ahead and push for this change, but hey, I guess that's the world we live in. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, we should all just go ahead and just do this for Tokon, right? Well, there are some things to take into consideration. First of all, it's going to take more than just the FGC to complain about it. Like I said, content creators, journalists, this has to be a topic that has to be widespread. The only reason Sony removed that PSN requirement from Helldivers 2 is because so many people were talking about it. And as we all know, the FGC is a very small and niche space. We have a voice, but not loud enough. And honestly, not a lot of people are talking about it right now. So I'm hoping that as we get closer to the release of Tokon, people start to get a lot more tapped in as to what's going on here. The second thing you got to think about is that even after they removed the PSN requirement from Helldivers 2, those 177 countries were no longer able to purchase the game. So it's like, okay, Sony removed the PSN requirement, but then they just straight up not allowed those countries to purchase the game now? I need somebody in the comments to help me understand that logic, because I don't understand why they would do something like that. Now, I want to remind people that this is not the fault of the developers. This is not Arc System Works' fault. Again, talking about Helldivers 2, the developers of Helldivers 2 were fighting so hard to make that game purchasable in those 177 countries. Now, I know I've done some quick yapping here, but let me go ahead and explain why this is a very important topic for Marvel Tokon. First and foremost, this is a fighting game, and fighting game players exist all over the world. And you know what else happens for fighting games? Tournaments. Arc System Works themselves recently created a Pro Tour tournament called Arc World Tour that hosts many different tournaments around the world. And there's no doubt about it that in these 132 countries filled with people who could not play Marvel Tokon, there's a lot of people in these regions that love fighting games and compete in them. So I feel like this just locks so many potential players from being able to compete and improve at the game. Not to mention mention that a huge part of fighting games is the online player base. The more people you have online playing the game, the easier it is to matchmake with people. So making this game widely available as much as possible is such a necessity, especially considering the fact that this game actually has crossplay. Even if we're not even considering the competitive aspect of it, come on, there's Marvel fans around the world who would love to play Marvel Tokon. I really urge Sony and Valve to rethink this decision. We cannot have this keep happening with video games that are published by Sony. It's unacceptable, sad, and quite frankly weird. And I haven't even talked about the issue with the Steam regional pricing of the game around the world in places like the UK, EU, and Brazil. Keep in mind that here in America, we pay $60 for the standard edition of Marvel Tokon. If we're paying $60 over here, that means that EU should be paying 51 euros for it, right? Well, they're actually paying 70 euros for it over there, which is basically $80 for us over here. Imagine us having to pay $80 for the base version of Marvel Tokon. Crazy. Let's talk about the UK. They should be paying 44 pounds sterling for the base Marvel Tokon, right? Nope. They're paying 60 pounds sterling for it, which is basically $80 over here as well. Once again, even more expensive. And for Brazil, they should be paying 314 real for the game, but they're actually paying 340 for it, which is $64 for us, but lots of Brazilian players on social media pointed out that this is 30% more expensive than launch Street Fighter 6 on Steam, which was close to $50. Also, it's worth noting that Brazil's minimum wage this year will be 1,621 real per month. If we divide Marvel Tokon's 340 real price by the 1,621 real minimum wage, that's 0.209. And if we convert this to a percentage by multiplying it by 100, it gives us 20%, which means that this game cost about 20% or 1/5 of Brazil's minimum wage. So if someone earning minimum wage in Brazil bought the game, they'd be spending a lot of their monthly income on Marvel Tokon. This is why game pricing often becomes a huge topic in countries like Brazil and why they are the most vocal about it. Overall, there's been a very consistent pattern of Arc System Works titles getting into Steam at 30 to 40% more than the expected regional price and getting fixed a few weeks later after people complained about it. This happened to Hunter x Hunter and Impact after many fans pointing out the unfair regional pricing, then it was fixed not too long afterward. But yeah, alongside making the game fully available around the world, the regional pricing of Marvel Tokon needs to be addressed as well. Thankfully, the developers are very vocal about wanting to hear player feedback, and they've done such a great job at doing that so far with the newly added gameplay changes. It's very clear that the team over at Marvel Tokon wants to give great first impressions to everyone before the game releases. It would really suck to see so much work be put into the game only for regional pricing and country availability to be talked about amongst the entire gaming community days after Tokon's release. I'd rather not see another Helldivers 2 situation with Marvel Tokon, and would very much like people to start talking about this right now while the game is in development. Cause I mean, like, even with Dragon Ball FighterZ getting Arc System Works more in the spotlight, I feel like Tokon is arguably the company's biggest game yet. So you gotta make sure that everyone can play and purchase the game. But again, this is all a battle with Sony because they also delisted the PC port of Ghost of Tsushima in about 200 countries that don't have access to PlayStation Network. And that's a single player game. Just trying to make sure people are aware of what Sony has been up to with all of this. But yeah, we gotta do better. I know this is pretty unusual for me making an angry Tokon video, but honestly, it's because I love this game so much that I'm making this video. I love fighting games and I love Marvel, and I want everybody worldwide to be able to experience this game. But yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking about this situation. Definitely think more people should be talking about it because this game is going to release very soon. Oh, and if you haven't already, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. I do Marvel Tokon content weekly, so if you're trying to be tapped in with Tokon every week, I got you. And as always, from me to you, have a blessed day.